This week on Star Trek Universe, Prodigy 104, Dreamcatcher, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on the continuing Star Trek conversation that two lifelong friends have been having since they were 6 years old. One of those friends is me, Matthew Carroll.
And one of those friends is me, David C. Robertson.
How you doing, Davo?
I'm all right. You know, it's the way we did that, by the way, completely off the cuff. We don't have a plan. But
I appreciate you going with it, though. I really do.
Yeah. The way we did it, though, reminded me of Almost Heroes, where it was like the old Native American guys coming out like, I am one of these braves.
I don't remember that. Yeah, no, that's like one of your favorites. And I've only seen it once. I feel like you reference it a lot.
I do reference it a lot. Like, I've never considered it one of my favorites, but I do reference it a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of, and I know right before we started casting, we were talking about Bo Burnham.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know his song Pandarin'?
Yeah.
I love that song, but it always reminds me of Almost Heroes because it has the Scarecrow line.
Yeah.
It's like, good girl in a cornfield with her arms out. Or no, good girl in a straw hat with her arms out in a cornfield. That is a scarecrow.
Yep.
So good. And then,
yeah.
Yeah. And then later he's making out with a girl. He's like, take her country girl clothes off. I reach to feel her body. All I feel is, hey, it's a fucking scarecrow again.
Yeah, it's something like that.
It's so good, man. It's such a, yeah. I really love that line. It always reminds me of Almost Heroes, though.
Yeah, because in Almost Heroes, they visit a town called Snake's Bend.
Yes.
And this old-timey pimp escorts them to the town brothel and to introduce them to the girls. And when they go in, it's just a bunch of it's a bunch of scarecrows, like dressed up like women.
Yes, it's prostitutes made of hay.
Yeah, and they're all very perplexed, and like the resident crazy guy takes off his hat and introduces himself, and of course the place burns down, and he's like, "She told me I could smoke. I believed her."
You know she was made of hay, don't you?
Yes, sir. I figured that's why she burned so easy.
Okay, so this has been a very inappropriate way to start a podcast about Star Trek Prodigy. I feel like any youngsters tuning in have gotten a real education. So let's talk about
Under no circumstance should a youngster be listening to us talk about anything.
Well, let's talk about Star Trek Prodigy, man. I freaking loved this episode.
I did too.
Dreamcatcher.
Fantastic.
Great name. Like, it reminds me of an original series episode.
Yeah, I mean, it actually reminded me of Shore Leave from the original series, and it reminded me a lot of If Wishes Were Horses from Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are other episodes like The Side of Paradise and Voyager's Bliss. I mean, this is a thing. This is a trope Star Trek does. But the great thing about this one is that it didn't feel like it was ripping off anything. It didn't feel
No, not at all.
It was anything from... Actually, you know what? It felt like more... To me, it felt like more of a Doctor Who type of
I see
episode.
That. I totally see that. I guess what I'm saying when I say that, like, this felt like an original series episode, it doesn't... I didn't mean like a specific one. I just mean like, it felt like, hey, we landed on a planet to explore a thing. There's no like real captain's log, whatever. It's just like, you just hop out of the ship. Hey, it's a new planet. Look at this M-class planet. Check it out.
Which is funny because like this is like the one episode of the series they've done so far
where you say he does give a captain's log.
Yeah.
But it's not like what we're going to do next. Like a lot of times, in TNG, it feels there's a lot less just like, hey, here's the thing, let's do it. It's like,
right.
we're heading to see the delegates from blah, da, 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 da. And like, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. This is just like, we're happened upon a planet. It's the 5-year mission kind of feeling. Like, we're just exploring a planet for the first time. And you really, like, and it's all based in character. Everything that happens, like, this is, we've talked about on the show how like this show has done a good job of giving us like things for these characters to want and real characteristics of these characters. And like all of them have a desire and like all of them line up perfectly with what we know about their characters, you know?
Yeah. And as we have come to expect, Dahl is completely incapable of doing what he needs to at this point to be a proper captain. Everyone just goes off in their own direction.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Much to the chagrin of Rock Talk.
Yeah.
And, just way to not look out for your crew, buddy.
Right. But also Rock Talk, as they're splitting up, Rock Talk says, I thought we'd do it together. And it's Rock Talk expressing the thing that Rock Talk has been lacking this entire series, which is like people accepting her, wanting to be around her. Like she's never had that. She's always felt like people in the mines, she's been this big scary thing and feels completely misunderstood and like no one to talk to. And finally she has this group that she thinks are her friends. And they just like scatter to the wind at the first opportunity. And then what does she get but like basically pets? Like these like little bunny things come out of the ground and start jumping on her. It's like, she's just happy to be accepted by another creature, like to be wanted. And that's all Rock Talk wants. That's such a simple and like universal desire. And it's just really a beautiful like way of expressing it, in both those moments. Rock Talk. I love Rock Talk and I want that for her. I want people to like, just make her feel less lonely, please.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll get there.
Yeah, I think they will. And I'm really trusting this show right now because it's done such a good job of establishing the characters, giving us what they want. Like this episode is a decision. Dreamcatcher is a decision to put them on a planet just to express what is their end goal. Like make it really clear. I love it.
Yep, and I dug it. I liked how creepy it was. I liked it felt like there was just a little bit of humor in there.
Mine has already detected a gas sample.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
the joys of being non-corporeal.
Yes. I have really enjoyed this show so far, and I've been very, very happy with how they've put it together. I have questions, and I know that this is sort of a bit of a surprise two-parter. I didn't expect it.
I didn't either. Totally shocked me when the ship crashes.
Full disclosure, and I'm not ashamed of it, I'm a 38-year-old man, and I was so, like, wrapped up in this episode, I didn't even notice that it was, like, almost over. Like, there was, I didn't have that moment where I was, like, looking at my phone or my clock, oh god, they don't have enough time left. I was just wrapped up in it, and then it was just like, it's over. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I did have that moment of like, oh my goodness, like this is about over. But at that moment, the crew is all flying towards the ship in the, what do they call it? The Runaway is the new vehicle, which I like because it's the runabouts, runaways. I don't know. It's nice.
Yeah. But it's like that dune buggy thing in Nemesis.
Crap, what is it called? I called it that
the Argo.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's not what I was thinking. Gosh, yeah, the Argo.
For some reason, universally hailed as like one of the dumbest things in Star Trek, and I'm like, I mean, why wouldn't you need wheels on it? I mean,
yeah, I get why people feel that way. It seems needlessly like thrill-seeky. When you could easily take like a flying contraption of all types of sorts.
Yes, but if you're going to a planet that doesn't have flying contraptions like that, and you're,
Right, but you bring your own, right? So like you could take a shuttle.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like if you're trying to uphold the Prime Directive, and for some reason you need to go to a planet where everybody's driving around on damn dune buggies, like they were in that Nemesis movie.
Yeah.
In that Nemesis movie. God, I'm getting old.
Nah, man. Nah, we're not getting old at all. We're watching a show that's made for people that are 30 years our junior.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's like, good. It's great, but it's like our show, like it's our show being made for a new generation. And it's just like an interesting experience. And it does make me feel old to be watching this with my niece and trying to, she asked me, she's like, is all Star Trek like this? Like, and I was like, yes and no. Like it's not all made for kids. It's not all like cartoons. But it is a lot of the things in this are like Star Trek. Like, so I've been getting to like see this show through the eyes of my niece. I've watched all 3 episodes with her and she's really enjoying it. So that's kind of exciting. It's exciting for her to be like excited to see a Starfleet symbol, you know?
Yeah, it is really cool. And, you know, we got more of Janeway teaching them about all the things. Like we saw her give them tricorders and whatnot.
Yeah, oh, right? That was so much fun.
Friggin' Jankum Pog, of course, shot himself.
It'd help if you aimed him the right way. We also get the first me and you talked about in the first episode how we wondered if Janeway would be more of a character or just a tutorial. And her saying holograms actually can't leave the ship and getting like a real note of sadness on those words and like really seemed very, not so much sad she couldn't leave the ship, that yes, but more like she was really sad she couldn't watch over them as they left the ship. Like she's the mother hen having to let them go explore.
Well, I mean, Janeway was an explorer. So, you know, I definitely got that sense of sadness from the hologram as well. Like if they, you know, made her as close to Janeway as they could. Especially when you look at how close the Doctor was to Zimmerman in so many ways, like he definitely had a real, he had like a real personality and desires to leave the ship himself. Like, I'm like, we're this far away from Voyager and they haven't figured out how to reverse engineer that freaking, thing they give to
the hollow emitter.
Yes, the hollow emitter.
Mobile hollow emitter.
Yes. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Speaking of cool tech, that telekinetic sword, man,
I'm down with it.
I loved it so much.
Really, really cool.
We just did a episode of Bingers Assemble for this movie called Occupation Rainfall, and we got to interview one of the cast. It was really neat.
Cool.
But it was just interesting because in their movie, it's a sci-fi movie, and they have like not lightsabers, but lightsabers. They have like these mechanical lightsabers that have like a strip of like laser beam kind of in it, but then the mechanical bits shift from like an axe to a sword to whatever you kind of need in the moment. And I was just like thinking about how like Star Wars has done this thing where like, whenever you need a good like shooting weapon and a good melee weapon in sci-fi, you know, Star Trek has the bat'leth. And I don't think that's very derivative of Star Wars, but like, a lot of things sort of derive themselves from that, laser sword idea. And I feel like that is what, Gwyn has in that telekinetic sword. And the fact that she can call it from far away is a cool new power that we didn't know she had.
Yeah. But I was on board as soon as I saw it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Me too. So speaking of the people and what they want, I guess, like, I really like that Zero, as he's getting off the ship, he's the one that's most excited about exploring.
Yes, they are.
Damn it. You know, it's funny because I get that the they in this situation is absolutely appropriate. And like, even when I gender Zero, I always do it differently depending on what I'm thinking about their actions. Like in this case,
that's probably some deep rooted bias in there.
Oh, for sure. I'm like, he's an explorer, but she's protective. Like I just like, yeah, like just like fucking deep rooted gender bias in there. But no, Zero really wants to explore more so than any of the others. And then the thing that it offers them is mystery. It offers Zero the chance at the maze, and then it offers Zero the chance at the engine of the ship, which shows that Zero has been thinking about this mystery of the engine, which reminds us of the mystery of the engine from a few episodes ago, which, I don't know, that's very deliberate.
Oh, absolutely.
Thought that was rad.
Yeah, I dug that quite a bit.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought was really interesting is, we've had this question about how Jankum Pog is a Tellarite and is in the Delta Quadrant. And in the show, he talks about the food from the Teller sleeper ship.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense.
How cool would it be if he was like in a cryogenic ship and he had maybe even left like hundreds of years before the Federation? That would explain why he'd never heard of it.
That makes absolute sense. I heard him say that line and I couldn't parse out what he was saying. Teller sleeper ship. Like I missed it or something. That's genius. And okay. So that does make his journey in this episode make a little more sense. Like, cause this wasn't just food. I was thinking like everyone else gets kind of a deeper reason that they're searching for. Dahl wants his family, his history. Gwen wants her father to be proud of her. Zero wants mystery. Rock wants anything to want to be around him. Her. Whatever. Gender is fluid, man. But then Jankum just wants food, and I was like, that seems kind of thin. Like, if everyone else gets a deep moment here, but the fact that that's from food of his people, from the sleeper ship, he misses home. And he's the only character that seems to have a home to miss. So that is cool and interesting and different about Jankum, and I dig it.
Yeah.
Man, they're just doing such a good job on this show. A show that is just like writing in who these characters are and what they want. It's just like, I honestly just think it's like a wonderful job of the screenwriters. Like, it's just been written really tightly. Yeah. For a 22-minute show, 3 weeks in, I'm just like, I know so much about these characters and I care about them so much.
And that is, while I haven't watched all of it, like I have gotten sucked into a couple of hours worth of episodes of the Tales of Arcadia stuff, which is where the Hagman brothers have come from to do this.
Yeah.
That Troll Hunters is what started that. And that was from, Mark Guggenheim from the Arrowverse and Guillermo del Toro. And Hagman brothers had a certain amount to do with that. And, like all that, the Tales of Arcadia series, because there was like Troll Hunters and there was a Wizards show and then there was Below Zero or something like that. And it was like trolls, wizards, and aliens, and they all coexist in this one big universe and kind of have crossovers and stuff. And it was every series did a really good job. And Nick Offerman's in the alien version; he's fantastic. But yeah, I'm seeing a lot of like the DNA from those shows in this, and I'm really excited about what I'm watching.
It's so great. I love the idea. We've talked over the years about like Tarantino doing Star Trek and how we're on board with that kind of idea of just a creator getting to do their kind of Star Trek and their vision, and finding creators that have a vision for their content and like letting them do what they do, but in the Star Trek universe. And this seems like the first example of that. It's just like really letting them loose to do something that is so unlike previous Star Treks, but very much fits in the world. Yeah.
Like it's a really cool, creative way to go about doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know how much more I have to say about this episode other than I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the next episode.
Gwen saves the Murph.
There has to be some kind of redemptive quality about her, because so far she's just willing to leave everybody on a planet.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is she's willing to, in the moment when she feels like they're an antagonist to her, and she feels like she has to. But when left with an option of actually seeing Murph harmed, and like, she has empathy. And like, something I've been thinking a lot about in life in general is if you have a belief system, whatever it may be,
mm-hmm.
and you believe it very strongly. Her belief system is her father is the diviner and they have to save their people and they have to do whatever. She has a belief system. She has to get the prodigy or the protostar back to her father to serve the needs of saving her people or something like that. She believes that strongly, but if it crosses the point where your belief stops your empathy, you have crossed the Rubicon. You are no longer being a successful human being.
Yeah.
Like that's like the line for me. And I've been seeing it a lot in like people's religions, people's whatever. Like if you go so far that you no longer see the thing in front of you as valuable, the personage in front of you is valuable, the living thing is valuable, then like you've gone too far. I really like that moment for her.
Yeah. And as you said, as you were talking about an extraterrestrial, someone who is not a human, and you say you fail to be a good human being, just hear Gorkon's daughter from Star Trek VI going, "Human rights, the term itself is racist." It's funny. We literally talked about that today. We were talking about that other sci-fi movie. Oh, I've this fifth podcast of the day. They're all starting to feed into each other. It's becoming a problem. I hear you, man.
And you mentioned this being a Doctor Who-like episode, and I totally agree. This monster was terrifying. But if this were a Doctor Who episode, it would be called Stay. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That one, they love those one syllable blink, like that. This would absolutely be Stay.
I always feel like Doctor Who episodes now, they really do. Like, they love the one syllable, like, title for the episode. And I think it's because they're trying to, like, I don't know, in some way balance it out from like the old days where it was like the tale of the revolving brain,
And BBC gave them a limit on the overall number of syllables they're allowed to use in the titles over the years, and they just really went wild. Like, this show's not going to go that long, and now they're just out of syllables. They're like screaming. You only get it's like days off of work where you collect so many days off of work every month. Mm-hmm. So like they're getting like so many syllables every season. Like, oh, we're really gonna have to scrimp and save this season. Is "der" a thing?
Oh,
man.
New Doctor Who basically has like Matchbox 20 titles. Like push, unwell, damn, shame. Did you notice that that Gwen says that her father has been training her to run the Protostar from like a young age?
Yes. She is clearly the most competent of them and could run this thing. Could run this ship much better than Dahl can. Now, does she have the heart to do so? Does she have the heart to be the leader that they want to follow?
Yeah, I mean, I think at times, you don't give. I mean, Spock could run the Enterprise probably better than Kirk in some regards, like technically.
Sure,
but then again, when you go to court martial and you hear all of those awards and shit, you're just like, no, he was a genius. Kirk was an absolute genius. Just,
oh yeah.
Like they had to tell the computer to stop telling us how many awards and and medals and accolades this guy had gotten.
And Kirk's like, I could stand to hear a little more.
Yeah.
He's sexually attracted to his own accolades.
His own accomplishments, yeah.
Sorry. Got him confused with Shatner. It happens.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, did you see the insanity? Did we talk about... Yeah, I think we did talk about Shatner in space, which is just a nuts thing on its face.
The guy he went to space with died in a plane crash.
Yes. Like, what the Alanis Morissette? Like, right? Like...
What?
It's like, it's straight out of that song. Like,
yeah, okay, ironic, yeah, okay.
She goes to space.
What are we invoking Alanis Morissette for?
Sorry, it's a reference to Dogma.
Yeah.
No, like, guy goes to space, does fine, is on a little commuter plane and dies like 4 days later. I think
it does go that way, where it's like, you always hear like, oh, you're more likely to die on the way to, to the airport in a car. Mm-hmm. You're way more likely to die in a car crash. So it's just like, going to space is the safest thing we have.
It is.
Airplanes are next.
I don't think any Americans have ever died in space, right? Or they've died taking off for sure.
Yeah.
But they haven't died in space.
Challenger, yeah.
Yeah, Challenger blew up. Mm-hmm. But I think in space we've never lost anyone. The Russians have, I believe.
I don't know. I have never even thought about it, honestly. I couldn't tell you.
I just remember hearing that statistic once that we've like never lost an American in space. And then I was like, what about the Challenger? They're like, they weren't in space yet. Like, really?
They didn't make it.
Is that a line that we're drawing? I mean, it's still the space program, though, right? I feel like it's like, don't worry, we've never lost an American in space. Lost some on the way, but don't worry, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's still true.
If you can actually get to space, you should be fine.
Yeah. The hard part's over. Oh man, yeah, but great episode. Oh, I one last thing I had on my notes that like I really liked that at the beginning of the episode before they landed on the planet, they talk about some sort of silica vegetation on the planet.
Uh-huh.
Because that was the species that they didn't recognize that was doing the Dreamcatchering.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was neat. I love that kind of stuff. The little throwaway lines at the beginning of the episode that's like, by the way, we're kind of calling our shot. We know where this is going. Like, I don't know. Just kind of a neat little.
Well, they did. Thing. Here was a thing that I read. Someone pointed out on Twitter. They said that the planet emitted thoron radiation, which I remembered. I just didn't remember that it was also present in If Wishes Were Horses from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
very cool. Very, very cool. I like it.
We saw that gas come up, but Jankum Pog was wearing his environmental suit, so I'm not sure how it could be spores.
Oh, right. Yeah, it didn't seem to be.
I think
unless he was wearing it wrong, which is also possible.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a clue because, I think everyone's going to go like, oh, spores, like in shore leaf. And then the fact that they're mentioning thoron radiation and like went to, when you think about animation and this type of animation too, you're like, there has to be a reason they put Jankum Pog in that suit. There is a reason for it. And story-wise, I feel like it is so a discerning viewer would say, no, when that gas hit him, he was in the environmental suit.
Right.
So it has to be something else.
Right. Interesting.
I might be wrong.
I didn't really consider that. I just assumed it was some sort of psychic, because clearly whatever this was able to read their minds and form what they wanted them to see.
Uh-huh.
Because with the other little clue there about them reading their minds is that he shows them who he thinks his parents are, but he never shows the the being never shows Dahl their faces,
right?
Because
he can't remember.
He doesn't know what they look like.
Right.
So it's some sort of psychic connection between the being and the crew.
Yeah. Here was a weird thing. The hologram Janeway says that the planet that they were going to was based in the Hirogen system, and that's fine. I don't know what it means, because if you remember the Hirogen, these were the hunters who were running around in Voyager all the time. In the episode Prey, they said that they had no known home world.
Okay.
So I don't know what it means to have a Hirogen system. Maybe they settled. I don't know. But
yeah, that's interesting.
But
they have no home world, but there's clearly a world that they are known by,
or at least a system.
Yeah, which I mean, star system is a like our solar system. So maybe they were already on a number of worlds in that system. Mm-hmm. Possibly, maybe they're clearly from that region, even though we don't know their actual home world.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Voyager made it very clear that they had been nomads for like thousands of years.
Right.
So I'm very, it's one of those things where I'm like, did you just not pay attention, or is there something deeper here?
Yeah. Or are you telling us something about the timeline is what I'm wondering. Like,
maybe
because is it distant enough in the future they've settled that they don't have a system now? Or is it, something totally different? I don't know.
Yeah. Or
I don't know, man.
Just mess up and think like, oh, we'll just say it's the Hirogen system, and
just pick any species. Surely all the species have a system, and they pick the one without a system.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, just a curiosity.
For sure. I'm really curious to see if they'll do something with all this little sort of clues they're giving to the old school fans that
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, and by the way, moving along with our constant concerns about where the Diviner is from, Janeway said she had no record of the Diviner.
Yes, she does.
The Diviner is obsessed with the Protostar and is doing all this, has apparently taught his daughter how to do this.
But that's when they call him the Diviner, but
right.
I'm assuming that's not the name he went by if he was like a Starfleet commander or something.
Right.
The Diviner seems like a name he or his machine man gave him as like a worship almost, like you are the Diviner, but that's probably not what he was known by as a Starfleet crew. If that was one of the things, or could be anything else,
Yeah.
But you're right. Apparently the Protostar has never encountered him as the Diviner.
Right. I just thought that was interesting. Just okay.
Absolutely.
All right. You've never heard of the Diviner. What's the other? Where's this other shoe? I know there's another shoe about to drop somewhere.
Put down the shoes, Janeway. Put down the shoes.
The shoe is about to drop, just like some drop down ceiling from a freaking theater in middle of Jurassic Park in 1994.
That's right. I don't think we've talked about that on cast. So
have we not? No.
I think we talked about that on the phone a few weeks ago.
It's a story I remember from childhood.
Yes. The story he's talking about is when I went to see Jurassic Park in the theaters in 1994. It was just out, and there was a really bad storm outside. And it was like rain was collecting all over the place. And in the middle of all the rain scenes in Jurassic Park, the really scary, all the, Norm is falling down the little mountains and stuff. And you're dealing with those little spitting monsters and stuff, spitting dinosaurs. At that exact moment, a tile fell out of the ceiling. And so there's thunder clapping all in the real world and on the TV. And then a tile fell from the ceiling and landed on a girl. It was a few rows back from me, and she's screaming, and there's a tile fell, so there's big bang, and she's screaming, and there's thunder, and there's lightning, and was just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
That was a very immersive experience.
Yeah, that's going to be the next step up. That's how we save theaters. Instead of IMAX, it'll be called iHeart. And you just never know when a piece of the theater is going to explode and fall on an audience member.
It's already the case, man. You just never know.
I know. Anyway.
All right, bud.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good. It's been fun chatting with you about some Star Trek today. I would love to stay on even longer and talk more Star Trek, but I've got to edit some of these podcasts because if I record any more, I'm going to be in deep trouble.
I hear you, man.
All right. Jolan True.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and Protostar. Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.